Welcome back to the NFL Kickoff. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. It's one of the bucket list items for any football fan, and to be honest, the final destination that all football players hope to end up at, the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Recently, they released their list of 27 semifinalists for the 2018 class, and we're going to bring in our football game plan analyst, Gene Clemons, now. And Gene, what are some of your initial reactions?
Well, I'm not surprised by the list. There's no glaring omissions for me from the list. Really, it just seems like, why do they need a list this big? Like, why do you need 27 semifinalists? Like, is it really this hard? Like, that's my initial reaction, and it's my reaction every year when I see the Hall of Fame semifinalists. It's like, why don't we just get right down to a finalist list, and then you tell me who's going to be in it? Because I'm looking on this list of people right now, and you can already eliminate guys just based off the fact that there's too many at a position. And that's the way that the Hall of Fame has always seemed to work. But I look at a guy like John Lynch, and while I'm a Buccaneers fan, do I think John Lynch needs to be on any Hall of Fame list? No. I mean, he's not a Hall of Famer. When I say John Lynch out loud, I don't immediately think Hall of Famer. I think really good player. And I think that is the problem a lot of times with the Hall of Fame, is they've turned the Hall of really good into the Hall of Fame. And to me, that's been a big no-no on their part. There's been a big undoing on their part. And maybe a reason why the Hall of Fame seems to be saturated with a lot of people who we wouldn't necessarily consider as stars or as people who need to have that level of fame.
All right, outside of John Lynch, in your opinion, who do you feel as though is a reach being named a semifinalist?
And I'll probably get a lot of, there's a couple bucks on here that I'm like, man, is he really a Hall of Famer, or was he just really good at what he did? Rondé Barber, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. Alan Faneca, is he really one of the best guards ever, or was he just on a good team? You know, Kevin Maguire was a good center guard. Was he a transformative center guard? Was he the best center or guard of his era? No. On the opposite end, a very interesting guy for me is Tony Boselli, who I thought was the best offensive tackle of his time, that was cut short by the fact that he had injury that he couldn't come back from. His is kind of the offensive lineman's version of Gale Sayers. And so it'll be very interesting to see how Tony Boselli gets viewed in that room. I actually think that he is a Hall of Fame caliber talent, but I also think that part of being the best is being the best over a long period of time. And unfortunately, sometimes that comes down to being able to stay healthy, and he wasn't able to do that.
Now, you know they have to narrow this list down to between 5 or 7 guys, so give me your 7 players if you had a vote.
Okay, so if I'm putting 7 in right now, I'm putting both wide receivers in, Randy Moss and Terrell Owens. I know that they don't like to put 2 wide receivers in, but I just don't understand how you can continue to keep Terrell Owens out when you look at his name so close to the top of every receiving list. Terrell Owens, Randy Moss to me is a no-brainer. I don't care about the fact that he had some off-the-field issues. Ray Lewis is a no-brainer. So that's 3. Jimmy Johnson to me is a no-brainer as a coach. When you win in Dallas, when you make Miami relevant after it hadn't been relevant for years, and as a contributor to the game, I think that he gets a nod as well. So that's 4 for me. Brian Dawkins is a guy that I think will be a lot of people's consideration, but for me, if I was going to put a safety in, I put Steve Atwater in before I put Brian Dawkins in on the first ballot. So I think I would go Atwater. Oh God, it's so hard. Probably Steve Hutchinson. He was the best guard for a long period of time in the NFL, and you have to have a lot of respect for a guy who was the best for a long period of time. Oh gosh, why am I even looking? Brian Urlacher. Brian Urlacher is he's the Derrick Brooks for the Bears. If Derrick Brooks is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I believe he was, I think Brian Urlacher is of that same caliber, maybe not quite to the Derrick Brooks level, but not very far off. And he did that from the middle linebacker position instead of the weak side linebacker position. I would go with Brian Urlacher as my seventh guy.
Gene, tell people where they can find you on Twitter and what you got going on.
You can find me by my name on Twitter at Gene Clemons, on Instagram at Gene Clemons, and everywhere else at Gene Clemons. And check me out. I'm usually over there fighting the good fight, trying to weed through people who seem to have a voice with no substance.